Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to hike up to San Gorgonio Mountain right up there on the South Fork Trail. South Fork meaning the South Fork of the Santa Ana River. It's in the San Gorgonio Wilderness in Southern California, kind of Big Bear area-ish. The hike is just under 20 miles, about 4,700 feet of climbing, and it's one of 3 popular routes to get to the top. I have other guides to San Gorgonio Summit on the website, so make sure you check those out too if you want to explore some of the other options. But if you do this hike, I really enjoy it. Once you get past Dollar Lake Saddle, you get these really expansive views of all of the high peaks here in the San Bernardinos. I think it's called like the High Line, where you can see from San Bernardino Peak all the way across to Anderson and back around. So really, really beautiful hike, and it gives you some views that you don't normally get on other trails down here. Now, if you want to do it, it needs a permit. You need a permit, free permit. And I have all that information on HikingGuy.com, along with parking information, all logistical, not so fun stuff. So make sure you check out the guide. There's a link to that right under the video if you're on YouTube. And as you're watching, as always, if you like the video, if you're enjoying it, if you find it helpful, if you click the little thumbs up button, that helps me out a ton and helps other people find this video and hopefully know what to expect as well. All right, guys, let's start hiking. We've got some work to do to get up there.
All right, so the hike starts right at the parking lot off of Jenks Lake Road, and you'll see there's a big trail board, and then right after that there's a toilet. And you're just going to keep on going here, and then you're going to cross over Jenks Lake Road, which is kind of weird if you've never done this before. But you just cross over, try not to get run over. Then once you cross, you're going to see the actual official trailhead. Look, South Fork Trailhead. I told you, we're in the right place here. You also see signs telling you need a permit and that we're going through a burn area, so be careful. And once we start, it kind of rolls down through this little creek. That's not the Santa Ana South Fork, but one of the tributaries. You're just going to go up and down over that little part, and then you're going to start heading up gradually. And it's a pretty gradual hill, and you'll see all this fire damage. The fire damage plays a prominent role in a lot of this hike. This is all from the 2015 lake fire, which basically just killed this region right here. You can see all the tree damage down there. And this is all the growth. This area was actually closed for a few years after that fire, but it is now open. And once you get to the top of the first hill, you're going to come to Horse Meadows, and there's some cabins over on the left-hand side. The trail goes off to the right here. And if you want to see what it looks like inside of those cabins, I have a video for the hike to Dry Lake where I'll bring you into those cabins, so you could check that out. But otherwise, we've got a long hike ahead of us. We're going to go straight up here. You're going to pass through this road. You used to be able to drive right up to Horse Meadows and actually up to the border of the wilderness area back before it was a wilderness area, but you can see there's a trail sign there. We're going to stay on the trail, and then we come up this little hill, and then we go over this dirt road. This is only open to the Forest Service. You can't drive, but we're going to head right up there to a little hill called Poop Out Hill. And it's not because there's a bathroom there. It's because if you get to that point, you can see San Gorgonio, and you might just say, never mind. But anyway, in this little stretch, there's about a dozen little streams here, so it's always kind of overgrown and lush. If you need water, you can get it here, but hopefully you don't need water at this point. And there's the hill we're going to, and you're also going to get glimpses of Sugarloaf Mountain across the valley off to the left over there as we climb up towards the hill here. Now at Poop Out Hill, there's a little left turn. You can go up there. It's just a couple minutes, and there's actually a neat sign, and you can get nice views of San Gorgonio Mountain. But otherwise, we're going to go straight, and at this point, you need your permit, so make sure you have that. And you can see up in the distance there to the right, that's San Gorgonio Mountain. That's where we're going, probably about, I don't know, 7 miles from here. That's the plan. Now this part is nice because it's pretty much flat. There's actually a little downhill too, and you can kind of cruise through it. And it's not too bad when you come back either, so just a heads up. But we're going to keep on going straight here. And you can see it kind of gets overgrown. This is what happens when this area recovers from a fire. So having long pants kind of helps with the scratches in the legs. But anyway, we're going to go through this flat section here. At this point, you're going to see the Lost Creek Trail, or what's kind of left of it. It's more like the Lost trail at this point. I think it's overgrown. I explored it last year and I couldn't really get through. But it's right there. And then once you pass that junction, you're just going to start going uphill a little bit. It gets a little bit rockier. And now the nice flat cruisy part is kind of over, and we're going to start heading uphill for basically the rest of the way. Now this is an important junction. To the left is Dry Lake, and to the right is Dollar Lake. We're going up to Dollar Lake. And if you want to go to Dry Lake, again, I have a whole guide and video for that in Hiking Guy, so you can check that out. And some people do this as a loop too. I'll talk about that in the regular HD video at the end. Now from here, we're going to go up the South Fork of the Santa Ana River is over to the left. It's called South Fork Meadows, and you can get some water here usually as well. But we're going to start climbing up, and in the beginning it's pretty rocky. It's kind of hard to get a rhythm on this rocky soil, but after a switchback or two, the condition improves, and it varies as we go. Some parts are really rocky, you have to pick your way through, and some parts are nice and cruisy like this, nice and smooth. And the trail winds around the north side. You're going to be able to see over to Sugarloaf Mountain right there as we go up. And we kind of wind around as we climb up towards Dollar Lake Saddle. It's about 1,800 feet to the saddle as we go up. That ridge over there, that's San Gorgonio, Mineshaft Saddle, and Fish Creek Saddle. And if you go from Dry Lake, that's right above Dry Lake. And I have a guide for Fish Creek where you can check that area out as well. Eventually the trail kind of winds around. You'll be able to see Dollar Lake Saddle up in the distance there. That's where we're going. That's the final destination. It'll be about, I think, about 7 miles in total. Here's the split to the trail, a little spur trail. It goes down to Dollar Lake, and you can go visit there. Sometimes there's water in the spring, sometimes there's not. It's actually a tarn. It's a glacial, it's a lake filled in a glacial cirque right down there. The San Bernardinos, I think, are the only glacial, the only mountains in Southern California that have glacial formations. All right, here's Dollar Lake Saddle. You can see there's a bunch of signs. We have some of these old Yosemite-style signs. We're going to make the kind of hike off to the left, which is basically straight, and keep on heading uphill towards the San Gorgonio summit. Now this is uphill, but it's pretty gradual. It's pretty easy. You can see over to the right, we can see San Bernardino Peak, Anderson, and Shields over there. You get really beautiful views of that ridge, which is known as the High Line that goes across as we hike up here. And then you'll twist around and you can see down to Mill Creek. If you've ever hiked up on the Vivian Creek Trail, that's where it starts down there. There's a peak called Little San Gorgonio Peak on the other side of Mill Creek. You can see all that pretty nicely as we head up here. And pretty soon in front of you, you're going to see Jepson Peak, which is right there. We're actually going to hike around that on the right-hand side. It was named after a botanist, one of the guys who started the Sierra Club with John Muir Jepson. About 10,500 feet, there's a saddle here with some unofficial campsites. Maybe they were official at one point, but I think they're still unofficial. But it's a nice little saddle, and you can see off to the left there, if you look, we can see the summit of San Gorgonio right there. And if you look down from here as well, you can see Dry Lake down from there. But from here, we're going to kind of swing around to the right, and we're going to go around the side of Jepson Peak here. And you can see the trees are thinning out as we get higher, and they thin out some more. As we swing around here, it feels more like you're above the tree line from this point, even though there are points where there's some more vegetation. At this point, you're pretty high up and exposed. As we go up, you're going to see the ridge where the Vivian Creek Trail comes up. Sometimes when I'm here, I can hear people talking on the Vivian Creek Trail. If I can hear you from here, you're probably talking too loud. But anyway, we're going to continue up, and there you can see San Jacinto in the distance. We're going to wind around Jepson here towards San Gorgonio. You can see there's more vegetation, but it's pretty exposed at this point. We're over 10,000 feet. This is one of my favorite kind of features of this coming up here. You can see San Gorgonio, but there's some of these windows sections like you have on Whitney where you can look down to the left or right. And And from Dollar Lake Saddle, we actually left the South Fork Trail. We're on the San Bernardino Peak Divide Trail, I think it's called at this point. And here's one of those windows. And if you look down here to the left, you can actually see Dry Lake and the valley where we came up along the South Fork of the Santa Ana River. And if you go down, you will see we just go right back down there to the start. So pretty cool. Usually the wind is howling through there. At this point, you're going to see the sign saying that you're not on the Vivian Creek Trail. That's because people going down Vivian Creek, which is the more popular route, sometimes miss the turn and start heading down this way. But anyway, we're going to keep going. We're going to join the Vivian Creek Trail here up towards the summit. And if you didn't see people before, you might start seeing them now. That's the most popular route, as I mentioned. And then right past there, there's the trail to the Sky High Trail junction down to the left. There's also a really neat trail. I'll talk about that, and I show that in my guide to Fish Creek on the Fish Creek Trail approach here. But from here, we're almost at the summit. You're just going to go straight and eventually going to see the summit in the distance. Down to the right is that little flat area, that protected campground. You can camp there, or you can camp up at the summit if you're doing it overnight. We're just going to keep on going straight, and then once you get up to the top here, you just make the right and climb up this pile of rocks to the summit of San Gorgonio. And you climb up here. There's a trail register. There's some geo markers, I think, and there's the sign, a little flag here today. And that's it. That's the summit. From here, you can just go back down the way you came, or you can go down the Sky High Trail. I'll talk about that in a little bit on the guide. And if you look around back down to the left here, you can see the area where we came up, right up from the South Fork.
So that's the deal for the South Fork. Now, I showed you how to go up the South Fork on Dollar Lake Saddle. Some people do a little lollipop loop where they go around Dry Lake, and you can do it in either way. If you stick around for a second, I'll show you what the hike looks like on a map, and I'll talk about that lollipop loop as well in case you want to mix it up a little bit. It's definitely a good option, and there's some stuff to see on the lollipop loop as well. All right, guys, I'll see you out in the trails. Bye.
All right, so this is the basic idea here. You can see we climb up along the Santa Ana River, the South Fork, and then from there we split off. We climb up to Dollar Lake Saddle, and then we go on the Peak Divide Trail up to the summit. So heading down here, parking's right off Jenks Lake Road, really easy to get to and really easy to park at. We have a leisurely climb up here until we get to Horse Meadows, which is right up here. Here you can see the old road that I mentioned where we passed through. That was the first road crossing. This is where the cabins are. And then we passed through the bigger road, which is now closed. From there, we head up. This is the part that I mentioned was particularly lush. There's a lot of springs along here. Sometimes you can get really muddy in the spring. But we head on up until we get to the border. And this is Poop Out Hill here. And you can see the side trail goes over here, and there's a little parking area. You used to be able to drive up to here, I believe, and this was called Trailhead Hill. And if I go up like this, let's see if we can see. Yeah, that's good. You can see, I mentioned it gets kind of a little downhill and flat as we go up the valley here. Really, really easy, cruisy part of the trail at this point. And then here, this is the Lost Creek Junction where it goes down. And then up here, we split off. The trail to Dry Lake goes up there. And we split off and we start climbing up towards Dollar Lake Saddle, which is over here. Let me swing it around so you can see. There we go. That's a nice view. You can see we climb up here. This is the split off to Dollar Lake right down there. No water in there, but eventually we get up to Dollar Lake Saddle. We leave the South Fork here and we get onto the San Bernardino Peak Divide Trail. And you can see we climb around the mountain. Charlton Peak right here. Climb around. This is that saddle camp that I mentioned. And here you can see San Gorgonio with the unofficial campgrounds up there. Let me zoom out here. And then here's Jepson. We're going to go around Jepson. You can see it swings us around. There we go. Look at that. Swings us around. Then we have a pretty gradual uphill. At times it doesn't even feel like it's uphill. It just feels like it's flat as we cruise up here. Here are those window sections where you can look down. And then we're up at the summit right here. So pretty straightforward. Now, some people also do this trail as a lollipop loop. And let me zoom out. I have that trail on for you. And I put this in the GPX file if you'd like to try it. But there we go. Look at that. Power of Google Earth. So this is the other way to do this approach that's pretty popular. And coming from the bottom, instead of going up towards Dollar Lake Saddle, we go up towards Dry Lake, which is right here. And then from Dry Lake, we climb up to Mineshaft Saddle, which is right here. And then we take the Sky High Trail up around to the summit. And I have a video for the Fish Creek Trail, which is over here. It comes up, basically comes up this way and comes around. So if you want to get a video idea of what this approach looks like, you can piece together my hike to Dry Lake and then my hike from Fish Creek to see what that is like. But if you're going to do the lollipop, I would say the first time you do it, I would just take this route that I just described to the summit. But if you do it like another time, you want to try a different way, go up to Dry Lake. From Dry Lake, you climb up to Mineshaft Saddle and then take the Sky High Trail around here. This is a pretty easy trail once you get to the Sky High Trail. It's obviously uphill, but it's a really well-built trail to the summit, and then descend down the South Fork where you get nice views of the High Divide. And if you want to see what this looks like from a 3D perspective, we come over here. The satellite picture is a little weird because there's snow over there, but the Sky High Trail, which was the last junction before the summit, comes around. There's a section here called the Tarn, which is really cool to look at. There's a bunch of switchbacks that go down, and then there's a crash site from 1952. A military plane crashed right here, and you can go through the wreckage there and see the memorial. We come down here, and then this is Mineshaft Flat right there. There's a campground there as well. You can come down here to Dry Lake, which in the picture is dry. And then from Dry Lake, you just hike down this trail, and then you rejoin the route that I mentioned earlier. That was the split off. We went to Dollar Lake up here, and then that was Dry Lake over there. And I have some more information on this in the guide on Hiking Guy if you want to piece this lollipop route together. It's another fun approach. So give them both a try. They're both very cool routes, and it's a really beautiful hike overall.